Check this out. We are getting a new look this morning at the progress crews are making on a new outdoor concert venue in Westbrook. The Maine Savings Pavilion at Rock Row is set to open in May, kicking off a summer concert series. With a capacity of 8,200, it will be the largest outdoor concert venue in southern Maine. A celebration of the progress is planned for later this morning.
5:19 on this Tuesday morning, turning guns into garden tools. 9 communities in southern Maine partnering with the Maine Gun Safety Coalition for a Gun Take Back Day. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. You can turn in your guns, no questions asked. They will then be melted down, made into garden tools to be given to schools in the greater Portland area.
Safe disposal ensures that it will not accidentally fall into the hands of a child. It won't be stolen. It won't be used in the commission of a crime, or even worse, potentially kill someone.
Gun Take Back Day is Saturday, May 11th. You can find a list of those drop-off sites on our website, also on our mobile app.
5:19 this Tuesday, communities all across Maine are now feeling the costs of a major change in the world of recycling. People who live in those communities are finding out how they are contributing to the problem. Our Joe Glauber looks into recycling's uncertain future. He has a preview of what he's working on for First at 4.
The problem with many materials isn't that they can't be recycled. It's more that there isn't an avenue through which to recycle them. But here in Ogunquit and in other Maine towns, they're making adjustments and asking customers to be aware.
We were one of the first places to really acknowledge the reality of this change.
John Fusco runs the Ogunquit transfer station, and he's trying to get people to recycle differently. It's in response to an international problem we first told you about last year. China no longer wanting to buy up all of our recycling. Since then, it's caused a backup. With fewer places to send that recycling, it's ending up in the trash. It's costing Maine towns serious money.
If it costs them more to store and dispose of waste, they're going to pass that cost down to the towns. We're the bottom. We can't pass it down to the who.
The alternative for anything that's been rejected or is too contaminated is the trash. Coming up tonight, we'll tell you what you can do to try to make sure that your products are recycled. In Ogunquit, Joe Glauber, WMTW News 8.
All right, let's take a look at our travel forecast for today. Again, we are looking at rain showers moving in and snow showers for our northern communities. So if you are driving today, you might need the windshield wipers, but by late today, we are looking at sunshine. There is severe weather in the mid part of the country today, including the threat for tornadoes. That is in Oklahoma and northern Texas. Be right back.
It is 5:24, waking up to some light rain on this Tuesday morning. Ted, I have to say, I went to the store yesterday. All the allergy meds, most of them sold out, or at least you get a deal for what's left, just because everyone's dealing with this stuff during the pollen season.
Yeah, take the daily allergy medication. That's what I've been doing, and it has been a little bit rough. But the rain is going to help the pollen amount.
Always look forward to that.
It's going to be cool today, too. Let's look at our temperatures. Today we're looking at 48 degrees here in Portland, 49 in Sanford. Areas that might get a little bit of sun will get up into the low 50s today, even 53 in Augusta. Mountains, 54 in Farmington after a little bit of light snow this morning. Tomorrow, we're going to be in the low 50s in Portland, but with some sunshine tomorrow, we're actually going to squeak out a little bit of a nice day. Temperatures in the mid 50s in Sanford and Freiburg. Getting outside for the week as we head toward the weekend, we'll be warming up. Again, this will be actually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where we might see a morning rain shower. Let's look at that severe weather outbreak potential today. It looks like tornadoes in the area that you see in brown there, the enhanced risk areas just north of Dallas through Oklahoma City and into the southwestern corner of Missouri. Guys?
Thank you. 5:25 right now. It's a Whopper like you've probably never heard of before. The Impossible Whopper. It's actually for vegetarians. The traditional beef is replaced with a plant-based patty. Unlike traditional veggie burgers, the Impossible Whopper, it's intended to mimic the look, texture, and taste of a traditional Whopper. Burger King wants to bring it nationwide by the end of this year. I'd be willing to try it.
I was going to ask you, have you ever tried a vegetable-based meat? Or, you know, it's not real meat, but have you ever had one of those?
I've tried ones from the store and made them at home. And I've tried some in restaurants. I like them. They're not too bad.
I haven't gone out on that ledge yet.
But if the patty's supposed to taste like an actual burger,
right? Maybe
worth trying. So we'll try an Impossible Whopper at 5:30 in the morning.
Doesn't matter what time it is. They have breakfast burgers.
Even better. We're always hungry. It's like the second day in a row we've been talking about food before 6 a.m.
And we talked about the s'mores frappuccinos. Pair those two together, we got a great meal.
We will take everything that is out there at this point. 5:26 right now, and we are back in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
This is Channel 8 WMTW, Maine's total weather news coverage.
It is 5:30 right now, kind of a great start to the day. Taking a live look From Nubble Light right now. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Christina Frank.
Good morning, everybody. I'm David Chern. Still bright out there on this Tuesday, April 30th. So surprising as we're inside this studio. We barely get to see it except with those cameras. But hey, you know what? The light is coming out earlier and earlier, Ted.
5:37 a.m. is the sunrise, and today we won't see much sun until late in the day. We will see it before the sun set. Let's go out and talk about our next 12-hour forecast. Look at all that cloud cover we have throughout the day today. I don't see that much in the way of rain, but there could be a couple of light rain showers through the morning, especially in southern Maine. Temperatures only getting into the mid to upper 40s today. If you're inland, you'll get into the 50s because a little bit more sunshine. But again, right now we're looking at a temperature of 45 with a south wind at 5 miles an hour. It's 38 in Auburn, 39 right now in Freiburg and Sanford, 40 in Kittery, and 38 in Rockland. Everything's kind of split. The heaviest of rain now pushing through southern New England, and we also have some snow moving into our northern communities and also into Bangor at this hour. But again, the rain primarily in York County, now starting to get into South Portland and Cape Elizabeth as well. Again, very light stuff, if anything. And then we also have snow. A little bit of light snow out in Rangeley now as we push back through areas like Skowhegan, Newport, and back toward Dover-Foxcroft. And we're looking at Greenbush, Bangor in on that light snow as well. Guys?
All right, Ted, thank you. And happening right now, the woman accused of beating a 4-year-old to death is waiting to learn her fate. Shauna Gatto faces life in prison if she is convicted of murdering Kendall Chick.
WMTW News 8's Kathleen Jordan live in Augusta, where that verdict will be delivered later this afternoon. Kathleen.
David and Christina, a judge, not a jury, will decide this case. Shauna Gatto opted for a bench trial here. She's accused, as you mentioned, of beating 4-year-old Kendall Chick to death in December of 2017. Kendall was the granddaughter of Gatto's fiance. The little girl had been living with the couple for 3 years while her mother battled addiction. During the trial, Gatto has gotten emotional when graphic pictures were shown, but she has remained quiet. Maine's chief medical examiner testified that the 4-year-old died from blunt force trauma to her stomach, which then caused internal bleeding. In their closing argument, the defense here has said that the state did not prove that those injuries were caused by Gatto, and she did not take the stand herself in her defense. She could face, as you mentioned, 25 years to life in prison. That verdict will be handed down at 1 this afternoon. Of course, we'll keep you posted throughout the day. For now, we are live in Augusta this morning. Kathleen Jordan, WMTW News 8.
Kathleen, thank you. We expect to learn new details today about human remains found in Oxford over the weekend. Police telling us it was near Route 121. State medical examiner is working to confirm the identity. It's not clear if they could be of Eric Berube. He was last seen about 2 weeks ago in Oxford, heading toward Otisfield. Police releasing a photo of the father accused of taking his 2 sons out of state. You see Joel Struther here on your screen along with his 2 sons. Presque Isle police think he violated a custody agreement, and those boys haven't been seen in weeks now. Police think he may be traveling in a metallic colored GMC Terrain with temporary plates. The brothers may be in North or South Carolina with their aunt Kimberly McLeod. Police in Herman are looking for a 25-year-old man who has been missing for about 2 weeks. Ryan Messer was last seen on Spruce Street wearing a plaid shirt, sweatpants, and a green backpack. He was possibly riding a gray mountain bike. He's 6 foot, 145 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information, call the Penobscot County Sheriff's Office. 5:33 on this Tuesday, a potential terror attack stopped before it even started. An Army veteran allegedly plotting to put bombs all over L.A. as revenge for those attacks on New Zealand mosques. Investigators say he was planning to attack a white supremacist rally. His weapon of choice, pressure cookers filled with nails like those used by the Boston bombers. But his bomb maker was actually an undercover cop.
This is a case in which law enforcement was able to identify a man consumed with hate and bent on mass murder and stop him before he could carry out his attack. The suspect wrote that, quote, America needs another Vegas event. He also claimed he would swear allegiance to ISIS if they ever formed here in the U.S. The man accused of opening fire on a synagogue in Southern California is due in court today. He's charged with murder and attempted murder. Hundreds attending yesterday's memorial service for Lori Kay, who died in Saturday's attack. The founding member of the congregation remembered for her kindness.
We've now come together to build our community back up by remembering and celebrating the life of our dear friend, Lori Kay. Investigators say the suspect fled when his rifle jammed.
A manifesto posted online shortly before the attack praised the people who attacked mosques in New Zealand and a synagogue in Pittsburgh.
Right now, investigators are working to figure out why a helicopter crashed into this neighborhood, killing all 3 people on board. That chopper crashing into a town about 30 minutes from Honolulu, Hawaii. Some of that wreckage coming down near a school and slamming into cars.
We came out and we looked at the car and we were really confused, and then we heard screaming and the word fire, and I saw smoke over there, and so we walked over to the corner and we saw the helicopter on fire.
The helicopter is registered to a tour company. Right now, a Hawaii state lawmaker is calling on all tour helicopters to be grounded.
New video this morning showing the moment a crane falls in Seattle, killing 4 people. Now the investigation is turning toward 5 contractors involved with that construction project. You see it right there. Today, Seattle City Council will hold a meeting to talk about what they can do to prevent this from happening again. The investigation, it could take 6 months.
5:35, and this morning Congress is getting back to work after 2 weeks off. Talks of investigations, impeachment, and the Mueller report echoing through Capitol Hill. But that's not all lawmakers have on their plate. WMTW News 8's Jared Hill tells us more from the Capitol.
Hey, good morning, David. So the Attorney General's hearings about the Mueller report are probably going to dominate headlines this week. But lawmakers are back here at the Capitol with a lot of work to do, stuff that will probably impact folks at home. This morning, top Democrats are meeting with the president at the White House on infrastructure. Leaders on the left are pushing a plan with jobs as well as clean energy as Congress gets ready to tackle a laundry list of unfinished business. House Democrats are presenting a beefed up disaster aid bill after previous measures failed in the Senate over the issue of hurricane funding for Puerto Rico. With the government already reaching its max borrowing limit, raising the debt ceiling by the fall is another pressing priority, or risk not being able to pay loans.
If that's the case, the most stable lender in the world, which is the United States government, defaults on their payments and the economy tumbles.
Now, the Attorney General is still threatening not to show up to the House Judiciary Committee's hearing on Thursday if members bring in staff lawyers to question him about the Mueller report. Yesterday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that the Attorney General would be obstructing Congress if he did that. Reporting at the Capitol, I'm Jared Hill for WMTW News 8.
Time is 5:36. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein has resigned. Rosenstein appointing Special Counsel Robert Mueller to investigate connection between the Trump campaign and Russia. He served in the Justice Department for 2 years, and he had intended to resign in March, but he waited until the Mueller report was complete. His last day at work will be May 11th.
Dozens of loggers and wood haulers testifying at the State House for collective bargaining rights. Loggers are considered independent contractors, and antitrust laws prohibit them from forming cooperatives. This bill would make an exemption for loggers, which Maine already does with potato farmers and lobstermen. Supporters say it's about loggers fighting for better pay and working conditions.
You think that they're entitled, as opposed to the soft-handed three-piece suit people that was getting up there to make sure that workers continue to get screwed in this state?
The legislation really speaks to farmers that have commodities that want to be able to market their product with buyers. And it's different to try and put a logger and truckers who are providing a service in that same kind of category.
Those against the bill say the special antitrust exemptions does not apply in this case since the landowner makes decisions on production and marketing.
5:38, a third casino could be coming to Maine. Lawmakers talking about a bill yesterday to allow the 4 federally recognized tribes here in Maine to open a casino jointly. Now, this new casino would include both slots and table games, and the state would get money from both of those games for the general fund and for the education fund.
The money that the tribes would earn if they had this would go directly to economic development, fighting healthcare disparities, education, and environmental cleanup.
Right now, 2 of Maine's casinos, the only 2, are in Oxford and Bangor.
Time right now is 5:38. It's a college kid's dream, getting paid to do nothing for a summer. Details on the internship that lets you binge watch your favorite shows right in bed. Sounds pretty good.
Maybe not just for college kids.
Can we apply?
And Captain America is in New England, sort of. A group of pranksters putting a shield where everybody can see it. We'll tell you more next. Ted?
Hey, we have that cool work week. Tomorrow looks a little bit better, but as we get into Thursday and Friday, temperatures only in the mid-40s. But good news is, once we look toward the weekend, temperatures warming up. All right, good Tuesday morning. Taking a look at the marina at Boothbay Harbor. Cloudy skies. No rain as of yet on the mid-coast, but a few areas in Maine are definitely seeing rain. One of those spots, Kennebunkport. Look at the wetness we see there, about 41 degrees right now in Kennebunkport, Dock Square. Need the windshield wipers and raincoats in southern Maine. Up in the mountains, well, Sugarloaf, a big drop in snowpack as they had a ton earlier this winter. However, a couple of snowflakes have been flying in that region this morning. Let's take a look right now at our day planner. A few showers this morning, overcast and damp by the noon hour, mid-40s and upper 40s by 5 o'clock, and a little bit of clearing before we hit sunset. But overall, a cool and kind of lousy day overall. 31 right now in Caribou, 34 in Quebec, 45 in Boston, 48 in New York City. And as we take a look at our temperatures, it's at 38 in Lewiston, Auburn right now, but 39 in Wiscasset, 45 in Portland, and 40 in Kittery. Now the winds starting to come in from the south at 5 miles an hour, but generally pretty quiet at this hour. We do have a split in our precipitation. Light snow, if not flurries, off to the north, and light rain in southern Maine. Now pushing closer to Portland now. We'll go in for a closer look here. As you can see, from Old Orchard Beach, pushing back to Biddeford, Saco, down to Portsmouth, and back into Sanford, we are seeing that rain. Now, as we head to the north here, we're looking at snow from Eustis, pushing back into Bangor as well. Harmony in on that snow. Widening it out, there's that system. Most of the rain sliding to the south. However, we do have some rain chances today. A lot of active weather happening out to the west today, including snow in Denver. So if you think it's bad in Maine, there is snow happening right now in Denver and in Nebraska at this hour. Severe thunderstorms, including tornadoes, expected today in Oklahoma. Here's a look at our total storm tracker. And again today, cloudy skies and cool, some mountain and higher elevation snow showers. Other than that, a chance for rain even through the lunch hour here. But then look what happens by late afternoon. We start to clear out just in time. We'll squeak it in before sunset, and then mostly clear for the evening. On the water today, a southeast wind shifting to the northeast, 5 to 10 knots, gusting to 20 knots, 1 to 2 feet waves. Some morning rain showers in the water temperature coming in at 45 degrees. Here's a look at our 8-day forecast. Morning showers today. Tomorrow, mostly sunny in the morning. Partly sunny by the afternoon, then late day and nighttime showers. It will actually be warmer. We actually when you get that sun, and it does warm us up. It looks like a little showery on Thursday morning, and then mostly cloudy and cool. Impact weather Friday for more significant rain in the mid-40s, but it looks like we'll recover nicely in time for the weekend. And if anybody wonders, what is that thing on Sunday?
What is it?
It is a sombrero. Cinco de Mayo.
Already looking forward to it, and that sunshine will be there, so even better news.
Right.
Yes.
We're going to celebrate for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just give me, I want the tacos and all the
there's
extra
all the
food.
What do you
You can have my margaritas. I want all the good
over
food,
here.
though. I'll take everyone else's portion.
What did you say?
Nothing.
Okay, we'll move on.
All right, we'll figure this out before Sunday, we promise. All right, thank you. Well, the first ever African-American director to be nominated for an Oscar has died. John Singleton was nominated for Boys in the Hood. He also directed Poetic Justice, Rosewood, and Shaft. He was in a coma after suffering a stroke. He was 51 years old.
Actress Lori Loughlin and her husband, more than a dozen others, also pleading not guilty to charges in connection with that college admissions scandal. Prosecutors say Loughlin and her husband paid $500,000 to get a fake charity to get their two daughters into the University of Southern California. Both say they are innocent. Meantime, actress Felicity Huffman will enter a guilty plea in federal court next month for her role in the scandal. Prosecutors say she bribed a proctor to correct answers on her daughter's SAT exam. Huffman's plea hearing set for May 13th.
The video showing Patriots owner Robert Kraft in a Florida day spa where he allegedly paid for sex will not be released, at least for now. A judge in Florida temporarily sealing all video and audio in the solicitation investigation. Today, Kraft's lawyers will be back in court challenging police tactics and the search warrant that allowed officers to install secret cameras.
This morning, the future of Woodstock 50 is up in the air. The music festival, which is supposed to happen in August, is meant to celebrate the original Woodstock from 1969. But according to a spokesperson for Woodstock 50's financial backers, the festival is off. Organizers say that's not true. Tickets were supposed to go on sale last week.